Mm-hmm.
It's not a desert. It's hot. I feel like I'm standing in front of a pillar or a wall or some structure, some stone, not natural structure built.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
How tall would you say it is?
Huge. Huge. It feels really big. I don't know, size. Like it doesn't go all the way up to the clouds, you know, but it's really tall.
Mm-hmm.
Like taller than normal, taller than what we know as normal. Very big. It's almost like I'm a tiny person and everything is so huge around me.
Mm-hmm. Are you the only one there?
Right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not in general, but right now. Yeah, my head feels tiny. I feel tiny.
Look down at your feet. What do your feet look like?
I don't think I have feet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do, but that's not English. Help. I feel like I'm half inside and half outside of this body.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel aware of my feet. My feet feel not paralyzed, but not in use.
Let's see if we can move around.
Mm-hmm.
See what else we can find around this pillar.
It's part of temple type, not temple, but similar structure, and you can't see words on the pillar, but there's words inside the pillar. It's like writing inside of it, and it can shine through it, but it's not on top. Does that mean? I don't know.
What kind of language do you think it is?
Oh.
Is there any symbols?
Mm-hmm. They change. They're fluid.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the same. It changes based on what you're looking for. It changes based on who you're talking to, who it's talking to.
So it's bringing information
Yeah, it holds lots of information, like the internet.
in?
But it's not an oracle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that. Not many people come here.
Why is that?
Because they would get frustrated. They wouldn't get the information that they wanted. I feel like they would break it. Like they would break the pillar. It's not really a pillar. I mean, it's a structure, but there's something inside of it. Whatever is inside of it, it pushes this light, this codes, these informations out. But not everyone can see it either. Mm-hmm. And so people get upset when they can't see it or when it doesn't tell them what they want. But it's all over. I see it's all over the pillar. It's all...
And see if it has any information for you today.
It has, wow. Makes my head hurt. It's a library.
Mm-hmm.
It's a library. And kind of like a library, there's like certain floors, right? Different sections.
Mm-hmm.
And some people can access certain sections, and I feel like I can see almost all of it.
Beautiful.
I feel like I can go into all of it. That's a lot.
What brought you there today? What were you seeking? It's the first thing that comes to mind.
Information.
Mm-hmm.
This is all of the information, and I can go into any of it.
Let's see if we can tap into it. What comes up?
I feel like I'm losing my body and going into the pillar.
You are protected as you do this. Let's go inside.
So we can go to any floor. We can go to any part of the library that we want to. The library is light. Literally, it's light.
Beautiful.
And in the light is the information. And that's why it's fluid. That's why it changes shapes. That's why it's symbols, but the symbols change.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go to the floor that you're wanting to go to. Is it only light everywhere? Is there other colors?
You have to go into the light and look at it, and then it opens up, kind of like reading a book.
Okay.
And it's not just, it's all me. This is all me. This is like a collection of everything that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I am experiencing is in this pillar.
So you can't tap into anyone else's information?
It's kind of one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
It just has to do with like security, like kind of permissions. Mm-hmm. Everyone's information is in this pillar, right? It's all here.
Mm-hmm.
I can, it's allowed, but not to the human strangers, not to my human, Kimiya's human strangers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can go anywhere.
Where do you want to go today?
Let's talk about Taylor.
Okay. Let's see if there's any information in this pillar about Taylor in there.
Yes, I can feel it. I feel it like pulling me to the right.
Okay, let's go there.
It's changing. We're moving. We're changing. It's spinning. We're going somewhere.
Have we found the file?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's like open. I don't know how to describe it. It's open, and it's almost like I'm in it now. So like I know I'm still inside the pillar, but it's like I'm in a library reading a book. So now I'm like in the book and I'm like in the story. And it makes my head hurt. There's a lot of information. It's very full.
Let's see what history you've had with this being.
I feel like little. I feel... Okay, I see something that looks terrestrial, earth-ish, green, grass, open space, safe space. Two beings. They're small. They feel like what we understand as children. They're not children, but they look small. And there's all these other people, all these other beings. They almost look like dots. It's almost like everyone is white dots. And Taylor and I are these two white dots. Oh, my head hurts.
What do the beings look like besides the dots? Let's look a little closer.
It's light. It's light again. It's these light people. They're not, they don't look human. It's just, if light had a body, if light was physical, I don't know how else to say it, because they're opaque, you know, they're not see-through. We are white, light, dot people. And everyone else is too. We're all the same.
Are you from the same family?
Same collective. Same, this is all a collective. It's one, almost one mind, but it's like I didn't like that. I didn't like being in one mind. I thought it was boring. And this part of the collective didn't like it either. And so everyone else is like ants in their anthill, and we're like these two ants that are away from the anthill. That's what it looks like. Everyone else is all together in the collective, and we're on the same plane, but we're off to the side.
What else can we learn about him?
I think we left the collective. It was a choice we both made, which was weird to everyone else, but we made this choice to leave this white light people collective so that we didn't have to be a part of the same.
So you're
something different.
Learn.
Yeah, just something different. We thought there was more. We thought there was more. We both felt this way. And even though we're two people, two dots, two beings, we do share a lot of the same thoughts. We're all very connected. The whole collective, the whole white light dot people. But this being, Taylor and I, we have a lot of the same thoughts. Whew.
What else do you see?
Keep moving further and further away from everyone else. And it reminds me of the story of like Lucifer being cast out of the cast of angels. I know that's not really what's happening, but it's what it reminds me of. That story.
Let's see where you end up. Where's the first place you go? Separate than the rest.
Space, kind of. Space out. But I'm alone. I don't have Taylor. I'm by myself. I have a face now. I have like these things on my face that come out. I'm a whole different shape. I almost look like a fish reptile person. Ew, but I can feel it. Ew, I'm in a body. Ew.
Does it have legs?
Yeah, kind of. Legs, arms. Yeah, legs are confusing. I don't really understand what these are. It's not really I can move without thinking about it, but I'm in a body. But I'm by myself. I mean, there's other people that look like me or similar to me, but I can't hear what everyone else is thinking. And before, I could hear what everyone else was thinking. Now I'm by myself.
And we're in space or on land?
Space. On a house craft ship.
Okay. What does it look like inside?
Blue, green, and kind of cold. Like it doesn't feel it is temperature cold, but I like temperature cold. This body does. It's very It's very confusing. I feel very alone.
Is it because Taylor's not there with you?
It's because I can't hear everybody.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I expected Taylor to be with me. I didn't expect him to not be here, but I'm used to being able to talk to everyone just by thinking about it, or we're always talking, you know, and these people you have to say words, the sounds to. You have to make sounds at them, and they have to make sounds back. You're all alone in your head. I feel all alone in my head. And,
let's see if we can talk to one of those beings. Let's ask him where the ship is headed.
You're exploring. We don't really know. We're looking for resources. We're looking for kind of like miners. We go and get. It's like an ore. We're looking for like an ore kind of material. It's a mineral, and we use it. It's like it's more than a power source, but I don't understand what he means. It's more than a power source.
Do you use it on the ship?
Yeah, but we also use it on a small. We have like different colonies, different settlements. We have different settlements, and we use them. We use it there. We use it for survival.
So where do you find this?
Inside, it's in the core of. Certain bodies have it, not bodies, people, bodies, celestial, moons, asteroids. Gases can have it, but we don't know how to get it out of the gases yet. But we're trying to. So, yeah.
What star system are you going to visit next? Let's see. Let's be there now, the place where you're headed. What does it look like?
It feels heavy, heavy gravity. Gravity's heavy, but it's a small planet, big gravity. It's not a planet, it's a star, that's why. We're on a star? We're on a star, that's weird.
Are there beings there?
Yeah.
What do they look like?
Some, this is going to sound so weird, look like I'm looking at this person, this being. It has a body. It's like an octopus with 2 arms. I don't know how else to describe that. But that's just one type of person. There's not a lot of people that are bipedal. There's not a lot of walking. It's a lot of like fluid movement. Almost like, oh, it's so dizzy here. I think it's like no one uses legs. Almost no one uses legs. It's like these fluid mover, almost tentacle things, like sperms. Does that sound stupid? It's like a sperm. Some are green, some are red, some are clear.
Do you find your metal there?
It's like a deposit. It's like it's weird. I can store it here. This is like a bank. This is like a deposit. We store. Interesting. I feel like we're stealing it. Oh, we're stealing it. Oh, we're shitty.
The beings don't know this?
Well, some of them are in on it. it's almost like we have an agreement. That's so weird.
What do you do for them?
We say that we offer them like protection. We're exploiting them. I don't think they understand that they're being stolen from. We are using them to not only hold this material, but they do the mining. We're not the miners.
Mm-hmm.
And then they give it to us in return for our like protection, but we don't even protect them. But like they're cool with us. They're friendly with us, and they're so sweet. I mean, they're not all sweet people, but it's kind of sad. They have no idea that we're doing that to them.
Let's go back up to the ship.
Mm.
Let's check out another place that you head to. Let's learn from the places you visit.
You know, it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like at first, it's like kind of lonely. But it is kind of fun to get all of these resources so easily without causing, I mean, I don't think it's harmful. I mean, I know it hurts them, but like we're not hurting anybody. You know?
It doesn't hurt the planets.
It does, but we're not really killing them. I mean, we are, but not all the way. It's kind of... Ooh, this is mean. Ooh, I feel myself changing. I feel it. I feel it. I feel like I went from one way of being, and I'm like really in this like mafia kind of bullshit, and I really like it. Ooh, I like it.
You have a body?
Yeah, I do. I do.
What does it look like?
You know those dinosaurs with the ridges on their face? That eyebrow looking thing?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that face, kind of that type of body, but I have legs. I have a tail. I'm tall. I'm very big. Very big. Very big. I'm a man. Person. Like male being.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very scary to other people, and I like it. And I don't have to do anything for people to give me what I want.
What is it that you want?
I really just want their compliance. I want more people under my... it's almost like if they give me their compliance, I have their energy, and if I have their energy, I have more. Because that's the main resource in this reality is energy. And if I have more people that willingly give their power and control to me, I can do anything.
Is it just because you're bigger than them?
I'm not bigger than everybody. Whoa. Okay. I told them to be like this. It's almost like I planted a seed. And I had other people. I'm not doing shit. I just sit back and let other people give me their power. And I have everyone else like enforce it. Ooh. Wow.
Is there a name they call you by?
It's like S's, bunch of S sounds.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. The human tongue doesn't make those noises.
Okay.
Noises.
Does this planet you're on have a name? The star system?
It's more noises.
Mm-hmm.
It's like chu-yi-su. Like chu-yi-su. It's not a word.
Mm-hmm.
Chu-yi-su.
So what did you learn in this lifetime as that being?
It makes me sad. I learned I lost myself.
Mm. Did you get power hungry?
I mean, yeah, that's all I cared about. All I cared about was being, like, feared. It didn't matter who I was. It mattered how everyone else perceived me. And I was really good at making sure they perceived me a particular way. I heard a lot of, like, star systems. This is over star systems. Whoever I am, whatever this is, affected so many people. Like, I really this is like the opposite of where I came from.
Mm-hmm. Let's close that scene. We're gonna go back up to that cloud we were on before. Just let it absorb all of your weight. You're safe and protected. I'm going to ask the cloud to move and carry you back and back in time and space to another time, another place we can gather information from. It is now slowing down and stopping at the most appropriate time and place. We're going to drift off once again and come back down, down to the surface. It won't be anything sudden. Once we get there, let me know what you see. It's down there below you.
This is it's dark, but I see light cubes, light diagrams, structures. It's like a black background and everything is neon lines. This is a space. This is a zoomed out. I'm not on a planet. I'm not in a galaxy. I'm something bigger. In looking at something like connecting it all, and it's almost like it's below me, and if I move, I can move all these lines and connect them different ways.
What happens when you connect them?
Colors, sounds. This is how connections are made in the self and among beings. This is an inside process and an outside process. Synapses. And I can move them. I can physically touch the light and connect it to a different light. And sometimes it feels happy, and sometimes I don't like the way it feels and I unconnect it. But the goal is to connect all of it, kind of. It's kind of like making art. This is weird. I'm not a person. I do not have a body.
Well, let's get to the end when you've connected them all and see what happens.
Turns into a sphere, and the sphere like vibrates or hums. This is how we create. This is like a universe. This is like I'm using the wrong word, but it's something like a universe. Or all the beings in it. And this is how we make them. We connect all these different lines until they turn from a cube to a sphere.
Is that your chore, your job?
Yeah, it's definitely my job. It's my joy. I enjoy doing it. Some universes don't want to be spheres, they want to be cubes. Or they want to be lines. It's not just my will, it's the will of the different collectives. Because each line connects not only collective to collective, but individual being to individual being, heart to heart, spirit to body. It can go really low or it can be really big. And my job, my joy, is facilitating those connections.
Beautiful. Let's go to one that you created. What do you see on it?
I feel like me. I feel like this person. I feel like I can see. Oh, shit. So, this is what I see. Human. Not Earth, human. Earth-like, much more water, much bigger planet. But similar. It feels like almost the same body. And each step that the human takes, you know those light cords I was talking about? The light cords go out from their feet around the planet, and they'll go into the dirt and the rocks and the grass, each blade of grass, each thing. And that's what connects. It's connecting not even just the grass, like the molecules, the atoms, and that happens in the breath. All these connections.
Like forming a grid?
Yeah. Yeah. But this being, this planet, I'm only looking at one being. They're doing it consciously. They're doing some of it consciously, not all of it. But they know that each moment they're connecting more and more particles together. It's so interesting. Because once the universe goes from a cube to a sphere, the cubes can't really move. They're kind of stuck. But when you're more of a sphere, you can travel through, what do you want to call it? The void. It's almost like dimensional spaces. When I'm a cube, I can't move. And what's happening is as the cube's edges become rounded, you can be picked up and carried by the frequency and the energy, and it goes up, 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 up.
So why would you choose a square versus a sphere?
It's easy. It feels steady. It feels comfortable. It's easier to think you know what's happening in a cube. It is kind of comfortable, you know. Sometimes it's scary to be in a sphere. because I don't know which way I'm going. It's literally up, spiral, 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 spiral. The cubes can't spiral. They don't have the right shape. They don't have the right, it cannot move that way. So a cube is slow, dense. That feels safe. It's easy to build a life on a cube. In a sphere, you're not building a life, you're deconstructing a life. You're deconstructing everything that the cube was. That's what's happening on this planet. It's going this whole beyond a planet, but the whole universe is going from a cube, and it's slowly getting more round. And it's moving.
How does it help it get more round?
So these connections, all it is being connected. Do you remember the white dots, the white dot people? It's like that. Everyone thinks as a collective. They don't all have the same thoughts. That's why I left. I really thought we all had the same thoughts, but really we just kind of act and think and we be as one, and it's such a deep connection. I thought I had lost myself, and so I chose a cube. But what happens is you keep finding that all the things you disconnected from, that's just yourself. Oh, that's really beautiful. I see. It's really beautiful.
What else can we learn from this?
It's hard. It's hard connecting to people that you don't want to connect with. And you don't have to, but to become a sphere, to become more fluid, you have to embrace these parts of you that you don't think are real. I don't like to think it's real that I am that big, scary bad guy. That's hurting like all these people, all these planets in all these ways, like really like fucking them over, like killing people. But that is part of who I am. And that's okay. As weird as that sounds, it's okay. And when I choose to make that connection to that part of that being, it all becomes not so scary. Because obviously that person is scared too. They just feel alone, and the person that's trying to make the connection feels alone. No one's really alone.
It's all imaginary state?
It's not imaginary, it's real. But the alone is a choice. The alone is trying to protect. The alone thinks that no one else can understand them. And that no one else will, that they're not lovable and that they're not worthy of. And that's not true. I mean, it's true to them, but it's not true.
How can we help people understand that?
You know, I think it was good for me to be alone, though. Like, when I left the white light group, I was really alone. But I found a part of myself I wouldn't have found. It's okay to be alone. But there's a great amount of forgiveness, and I mean personal forgiveness, it takes to allow yourself back into the collective.
Is that what we're doing on this planet right now? Will we eventually go back to the collective?
We are the collective. We're remaking the connections to each other. We think more like individuals and as a collective. And that's okay, because we're finding these pieces of ourselves. But most of us have already found all those pieces, and we need to show them to other people. It's forgiveness. It's forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can look at you and see who you were and what you've done and how you've exploited and how you raped and how you killed and how you tore apart, I mean, so many people's lives, and I can still love you. And that's what brings the collective back together.
Beautiful message.
Oh.
Anything else you can add to that? Our humanity needs to hear.
Ascension isn't just light.
Mm-hmm. What else?
It didn't work. It does work, but we were looking for more. We're not going for just light. We're not going for just dark. Most of us have played in both.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us carry more dark than light. Many of us carry more light than dark, and that's okay. But it's connecting the more light with the more dark. That's what ascension is. That's what it is.
Is it the perfect balance of both?
It's an acceptance of both.
Mm-hmm.
It is an acceptance of both so that it's whole. Because in the whole light world, I felt like I didn't know who I was. In all the dark world, I thought I lost who I was. And if I accept both of them, that's who I am. I'm not the white person, not the white dot. And I'm not just the bad, not just the big dinosaur-looking person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm both. And both of those people can be happy. That all sounds so weird. And it's acceptance of both of those.
Mm-hmm.
Both have a place. Both have a job. No one is more evolved than the other. But if I ignore one, I lose the lessons of the other.
Beautiful message. Let's drift away. We're drifting and floating away from that life we weren't at before. And I would like the consciousness and personality of Kimiya to once return to the body. Now I want all the consciousness and personality of Kimiya to once again return to the body and fully integrate back into the body. May I speak to Kimiya's subconscious, please?
Yes, you may.
I have permission to speak to Kimiya's subconscious. I respect the power of the subconscious because I know the subconscious takes care of Kimiya's body and does a very good job of it. I also know that the subconscious has the records of everything that has ever happened to Kimiya in this lifetime and all the other lifetimes she has ever lived. So I respect the power of the subconscious, and I always ask for permission to speak to and ask questions. Do I have permission to ask questions?
Yes, you do.
Are there any other lifetimes that is affecting her today that we can gain some clarity on? Any cycles that she may be doing? Some patterns?
There are a few.
Okay, what first comes to mind?
Cycle of giving and receiving. It's been imbalanced. for a long time.
Does she give more than she receives? Or vice versa?
Both.
Okay.
I mean, both at the same time, but what it's easy to give, what is perceived as love, support, and it is easy to receive hurt, trauma, neglect. It's hard to give limits, and it's easy to receive a reality without limits.
So what can she learn from this?
She's doing a good job already. Rebalance. It's not normally done in one lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
It's not normally established in one lifetime. A pattern is over a series of experiences, and typically takes a series of experiences to unlearn. We are at a point of learning to receive.
What does that look like energetically? Is that opening up your heart to receive and that worthiness of receiving?
The whole being, the whole being is open, more open, becoming more open process. Yeah, the being is a lot bigger than it was, and that is good.
What other patterns has she been doing? What's affecting her now?
This concept of alone and connected. She is used to constant connection, constant, all the time. And it is easy. That's why spirit connection is easy. It's like breathing. It is in this being's breath to connect to spirit and to connect to other beings, plants, trees, animals, children, people. But in order to connect, you have to be able to receive the same code, the same frequency that you are putting out. We're learning this.
So she's working on that now?
Yeah, it's confusing for her. It's extremely confusing because this is the first life as a human being where she's being willing to accept it as real. Sometimes.
How many times has she been human being?
17.
What lessons has she learned as a human being?
connection is different as a human being. The connection is through a smaller straw at first, upon birth. And this is hard for her. She is used to a connection through a bigger straw.
Why is it a smaller straw for being a human being?
Facilitates a knowing that you cannot have without that room. You must have room to know who you are. You cannot be connected all the time and know who you are. You have to have that time in what you perceive as humans as alone. You're not alone, but it feels like it. That's the only way you will go inside of yourself instead of outside of yourself.
I see.
She wanted to know who she was on the darkest levels. And the human doesn't have to go through all the experiences of, let's say, that cosmic dictator to know the darkness. She doesn't have to go through millennia of existing to understand darkness. It can happen in a short human lifetime.
Very interesting. If we do a body scan as we ask these questions.
Yes.
Is she meant to go to Los Angeles in April?
Absolutely. April is undetermined.
Okay. What's for her in Los Angeles?
Connection, wealth, independence, grounded nature. Healing.
Is Taylor meant to go with her there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What should she do with her career?
The same, but push it. Be uncomfortable. If it feels weird, it's probably right.
Is she bringing something new to the table that doesn't exist yet?
Old. Old.
Okay.
Old with new perspective. Old medicine, different perspective.
Okay. She wants to know more about her grandpa, Dennis. Has she known him from past lives?
Many.
Are they from the same star system?
No.
What's their connection?
It's like a marriage. Human would use the word marriage. Agreement, soul agreement. Sometimes partner, sometimes child, father, child, mother, child. But mostly partner. One guides the other. Yeah.
Where's he originally from?
Far. This human wants to say Arcturus, but that's not true.
Okay.
But a similar concept, a different system, not named.
Okay. What are his superpowers?
He's a library. He is a library. He has more like an encyclopedia, knowledge of many topics collected over many systems, specifically in ways of building, in ways of creation, structure.
Mm-hmm.
He teaches structure. She teaches flow.
So Kimiya is a creator as well.
Yes, different. Dennis is a structured, the skeleton, the blueprint, the draft, the plan. Kimiya is the breath, flow, the song of it,
mm-hmm.
the dance of it. They teach each other.
So are they supposed to work on something in this lifetime? Create something?
I mean, they already have. This shared lifetime is almost over.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the shared lifetime is almost over, he will continue to be present.
Mm-hmm.
And from that role, they will accomplish more.
Mm-hmm.
The shared lifetime is only a foundation. It's not even the whole foundation of the intention of this relationship in this life. It's mostly through the rebranding of the same information in a different way.
Okay. Tell her more about her cosmic history or heritage.
We have been doing this a long, linear time.
Mm-hmm.
And our joy is creating new roles, new connections, new learning. We started creating universes, those cubes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we started. The more we did that, the more we wanted to get into the cube. We wanted to get into that line of light. We wanted to go deeper and deeper and deeper. We have gotten as far as the smallest atom. And we're working our way back out into the biggest, all of it, the source of all of it. It's not a cosmic history.
Mm-hmm.
It is a history of being as big as possible and as small as possible and working your way back out. Okay. That's why she connects to all of it at the same time.
Brilliant. She wants to know more about her hybrid children. What can you tell her about that? Does she see them?
She does already. They're very present, extremely present.
When does she see them? In dream time?
sometimes, but even briefly, physically, some are what you would understand as adult. Some are not.
Mm-hmm.
There are 12. Most of the adult ones are not present. However, there are 2 that do choose to be present among Earth surface humans.
Mm-hmm.
And it will happen that she encounters them that way. Most appear as she's falling asleep, in sleep, in art, in that flow, but physically, what you understand is physically.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 that come in from time to time. You would call them angels, but they are not.
So are they in this dimension or the next?
Mm-hmm. This.
Okay.
This dimension. Interdimensional beings. They're interdimensional. They can change. We can change.
Mm-hmm.
You can change. But should you see them, it would be this dimension. If you hear them, you may assume it's another.
Okay. So how many people getting being used as a conduit for bringing in these entities? Like, what is the reason behind it?
These entities.
When we have a hybrid children versus having one with a human being, do they have more abilities?
Different abilities. Many of them are not to remain on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Very few hybrid beings made in conjunction with what you understand as cosmic entities.
Mm-hmm.
Very few are to remain on this planet. Most, just like your star seeds of this planet, are star seeds of your words of others.
Mm.
Star seeds of star seeds.
Okay. So they get taken up on a ship and then taken to other planets?
Sometimes. Some live their entire lives on craft. Some are groomed specifically for work as what you know as walk-ins.
When someone dies, they'll come in?
They don't have to die.
Or an out-of-body experience?
It could be a soul agreement, and the host, human host, body could go through a near-death or even death experience, but oftentimes it is what you understand as a psychological experience. A psychotic episode is another door for one consciousness to come in, another consciousness to leave or to prepare to leave.
What are the powers of humans? Why are they unique compared to other beings, entities? What are they capable of?
In one relatively short human life, one may experience a greater depth and breadth of emotional and spiritual variances than one would experience in many other types of host beings for a spirit. For example, many beings live in what you perceive as a more constant state, more neutral, and their experience, their depth and breadth of those frequency changes are small compared to humans as a species. Earth surface, inner Earth, star humans, other planet humans experience a greater range of being in a very short time.
So the most growth happens in a lifetime here versus others?
Growth or confusion. Sometimes it's confusing. We get stuck in it. It's hard to know what is up, down, right, wrong, good, bad. This is true for humans that think and work and act as a collective, and there are some that do, and those that act and work and be as an individual, which you are most familiar with. The growth is the same, the challenge is the same, the confusion is the same, because the range is wide. The understanding is more limited, but the range is wide. There is more to experience as a human in one life. Than in some collectives, and linearly their lives can be much longer.
What are her superpowers that she can use in this lifetime, or that she's learned from other places that she can bring here now?
Again, with this one specifically, there are many, which is hard, which to hone, which to encourage. This one has chosen physical healing. This one has chosen spiritual connections. This one would benefit from choosing a relationship with the spirit of the breath. She already uses it, however, the breath itself. Use of the breath, conscious awareness of the spirit of breath. The spirit of breath is the spirit of God, using the breath as source, as God, would be of utmost benefit.
So does she channel energy as she breathes a certain way?
Through her breath, through the use of others' breath, it is the most direct route to source energy, is breath. Spirit channeling happens through the breath, but all of life is through breath. Rocks breathe. Trees breathe. Even babies in the womb breathe. breath is the single common denominator among every being, be it aquatic or not. They all breathe. Those light connections, light and breath are the same thing.
Is she breathing deep enough?
Breath doesn't always have to be deep.
Mm-hmm.
It could be low into the body, or it could be high. But what breath could benefit from being is more complete. We leave air. Humans leave air in the lungs for a long time instead of...
Does it get stagnant?
It gets slow, yeah, stagnant. So instead of breathing deeper, breathing more complete, just a more complete breath.
Okay, good to know. What should she bring to the table at Serpent Mound? What should she speak about?
Children. We need to talk about children, Earth children,
mm-hmm.
and their relationship with the all, the Earth specifically. A Serpent Mound, cosmic, yes, but we were talking about the Earth. The Earth is cosmic, a reconnection to the Earth through the children, through the cosmic nature, the intuitive nature of the children. Every being is a child. No matter how old, every being is a child. But to turn on that child brain,
mm-hmm.
and to make complex information available to linear children, to little people, is extremely important. That opportunity is there at Serpent Mound.
Mm-hmm. Are we disconnected from the children? Do we feel like they're on a different level than we are as a species?
We can't be disconnected from that which comes from us.
Mm-hmm.
That said, we can have different levels of understanding. The children are more adult than adults perceive.
Mm-hmm.
The children understand extremely what you consider advanced concepts.
So we need to learn from them and listen.
We need to teach them as we teach adults.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason to wait until you're 12, 13, 15 to talk about chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about it at 2 and younger.
So our schools are failing our children?
The schools are set up for a reason for the children, for the people to find out the information on their own. However, those who are aware of the adult brain and the child body would benefit from a sense of obligation to teach the little ones as they teach what you have as college students.
Mm-hmm.
They can learn that much, that quickly.
So is it usually at the age of 2 when they are connecting synapses and it's easier to absorb the knowledge?
Immediately. However, we can't really start articulating it as a being. Much younger, you can, depending, every little person is different. But 2 is a really good place
mm-hmm.
for articulation and conversation. 18 months, 18 months.
Should we start new programs for these children to learn faster?
They're already started. Mm-hmm. The bigger the program is, the more institutionalized it becomes. Not always in the best interest.
I see.
Grassroots,
mm-hmm.
that phrase, beneficial. The advent of your internet, your YouTube, your libraries even. Extremely beneficial. Extremely beneficial. Spending time outside, looking at clouds and their shapes. It might not seem important, but that is more important than an institutionalized program at this time, based on this collective's desire for control. You don't want to control the young being at this time.
Mm-hmm.
You will be coming into a place much further from now, where institutions will not be controlling of children and they can choose their education. Until that point, institutionalizing it should be done with only the highest of minded and the purest of intended people.
Okay, thank you. So why did she choose her mom and dad in this lifetime? What did she need to learn from them?
From her mother, she sees and saw an extreme aspect of psychic ability, connectivity, an extreme to a point where there were no boundaries and no control. The connection of her mother is strong and true and powerful, but without boundaries. And for this being to even choose to come into her power, she had to see what would happen. She had to see it if she let it control her instead of her control it. There's other reasons too. The mother learned lots, is learning lots from her. But she learned from her mother how to be a parent. Not by example, but how to be a parent. Just like she learned how to be a more aware psychic being, not by example, but learned how to think for herself. The father is a repeat. We've done this before. Father is a different aspect of boundaries, a different aspect of control. The mother is no control, no boundaries. The father is all control, all boundaries. And again, how to speak up for herself and stand up for herself in both extremes.
So in the past, what has the father done? The same relationship?
Very similar. Most often, the person in control of the relationship. Not always. Most often. Lots of love. Lots of dependence between them.
Is she meant to mend a relationship, the mom or dad?
The relationship with both has changed considerably. The relationship with the father is ending karmically, cyclically. It's ending. And on the current trajectory will not be repeated.
Okay. Good to know.
The relationship with the mother is not at this time cyclic. It is not at this time karmic. And that this trajectory will not, should not become that. Mom is a one and done. As far as this current dynamic, and perhaps as beings individually, that is yet to be determined. With the father, there is healing to be done outside of this incarnation. But as far as this incarnation, yes, there's always more, but that relationship is ending, and that is done.
Okay. She wants to know about the being that showed up in her bedroom. Can you explain if she's known that person, being before, or who it is?
That being would be what we would call a human ambassador. Human name, David, for the human to have greater familiarity. He's an expert in human communication and psyche. Just as she is a lay person between various star nations and the Earth surface human collective, so is he. And they are unique in that way. Ambassador to ambassador.
Did he have a message for her that night?
An invitation. Not a message, just an invitation.
What was the invitation for?
To experience a reality beyond the dream world, beyond the astral.
Did she choose not to go?
She did.
Was it because of fear?
It was because of fear, partially. Mostly timing. There's excitement on both ends. The timing was perfect for that brief interaction. It may have been overwhelming if we had moved forward and retained all of the memories of that experience. So she chose well.
Okay. Is he going to come back?
He has already. This is a slow relationship. After that encounter, she initiated boundaries about when they were allowed to enter her home, and through where, and with whom they were allowed to interact with and not interact with. It is a slow relationship.
Okay. How often does she go up on ships?
Every week.
Does she go to the same one?
No. Depends. There is a most known craft at this period in her life, although that may change. This most known craft is, we would say, mid-size. To the human, it would appear large. Mid-size. And beings can live their entire life on this craft. And some do. However, there are other, usually smaller, craft that she visits. It's dependent upon places not only in her, what we would call cycle of her psyche, but the cycle of the collective with whom she is working most closely with. It's not always congruent. It's not always in alignment for her to work with the same beings. She relays information between them at different times.
So they're learning about humanity?
Yes.
In order to help them?
Help, yes. More understand, observe with compassion. The human template is a template for beings yet to be created. The human template is a template for beings with which we are working to experiment with and create new possibilities, ideas, worlds, species. Much of this is simply data collection.
Okay.
There is some intervention, but very little. The human is capable. This relationship is data being given and data received. She is a transmitter of data from the cosmic to the human and from the human to the cosmic.
Does she have microchips in her body?
As you understand them, yes.
How many of these does she have?
Only 2.
And do they scan them for information?
They are not permanent.
Mm-hmm.
This one goes through different cycles depending on what collectives she is transmitting and receiving data from. Some, what you would call microchips, are calibrated, programmed, designed for frequencies of some are so subtle that they cannot be perceived by the human, and they can only be perceived by the engineer that placed it.
Mm-hmm.
The other one-ish is more for the human, almost like a translator. So she is more aware of one, the information coming from one. It translates the frequency from one to another. The other one is recalibrated depending on who she's working with to transmit the human frequency from that to given collectives.
What archangels does she work with?
Michael.
Mm-hmm. Any others?
Archangels are a concept widely utilized by your humans, and thusly not widely often utilized by this one. Not that they aren't truly who they are, but many of them are projections of themselves, almost like holograms of themselves, an idea spread amongst the humans for that connection. She doesn't go through the archangels for that connection. Her connection is without the projections, without the holograms, and more into the layer of the consciousness from which those angels originate. Without the personality. She likes the personality of Michael. It was taught to her, and it feels safe, so she uses it. The others don't much matter. She taps directly into that plane without names, without personality.
Does she have any relatives that have crossed over that are guides for her now?
She has a great-grandma to her, to this person, a great-grandma. And she has to her a cousin. The cousin is most instrumental. He helps us understand what she can and can't handle as a human. He was, as a human being, also a cosmic being, much like she is. And he got he placed himself in a cycle that led to his transition out of that body. It was too much. And since his transition, his role is mostly communication to her high council, not her, but her highest council of what the human can and cannot endure.
Can you explain to her how many dimensions there are?
It depends through which reference point we choose to look at dimensions. Much like there are different chakras, what you call chakras, energy points in your physical and etheric bodies. Through a plane most commonly accepted in the universe, this universe as you know it, there are either 12 or 6 different schools of thought, same dimensions. Through the plane of a universe that you might consider higher, more dynamic than this, you would see hundreds. However, there are as many dimensions as there are realities, perceptions. 2 beings can be in the same dimension. However, each being has a different reality in that same dimension. That took 1 dimension and made it 2. So on and so forth.
How is her diet going? Is she eating the right foods? It's for her highest good.
This one struggles very much with food, that giving and receiving cycle. Receiving nourishment, sustainability is an act of love. And it is very difficult to this one to alter her vibration through food in a way that makes her body more congruent with this reality. That said, her dietary needs, while different than most, are very particular in nature. She must continue throughout her life to eat some portion of animal meat, be it fish or fowl. It is important. It is important for her to limit foods from her childhood because they carry with them the vibration of, the memory of, the experience of essentially human bodily death.
What foods would that be?
Highly processed, but specifically soda, specifically, what do you call those? Like cookie Pop-Tarts, specifically childhood memory foods. If it's a childhood memory food, in most cases, especially if packaged, it should be avoided.
Okay. Is she drinking enough water?
No.
How many glasses a day should she drink?
She should drink whenever she's thirsty. And it is hard for her to know when she is thirsty. This is her being less present in her body. So it is not a number.
Okay.
But the requirement is that she is more in her body and that she carries with her water everywhere she goes. Should she do that, she will inevitably drink enough water.
Okay. Good to know. Can you explain to her about time? She wants to know about the concept of time.
Time is a concept that is real in this agreed upon reality. Time as a concept is like a marble. No beginning and no end, just existing. There is space inside of time and outside of time, just like there is space inside of a marble and outside of a marble. When we see a marble roll, we imagine that to be the passage of time. But time still exists without the marble rolling. Time can look like it moves, but time does not move. Time is just a marble. And really, in reality, your time is one red marble in a jar of multicolored marbles. All separate games, right? Separate realities, separate times, but they're all in the same jar. You can pick up any marble that you want to at any given time. Time is a tool that we use to experience ourselves. It is not a trap, but it is a confusion. Most tools are confusing.
She's connected with fairy energy. And why is this? Has she been a fairy?
She has been part of a collective. She is of a collective of beings that we would understand as fairies. that act as communicators between celestial bodies. Celestial bodies, such as planets, communicate with each other. But the elements of each planet are different. The resources of each planet are different. The Fae, typically, of each planet are responsible for the resources within that planet and communicate with each other accordingly. Everyone shares resources.
Okay, good to know. How's the body scan doing? Are we finding any issues in the body that we need to address?
The hands of this body.
Okay, let's hone in on that energy. What's there?
Constriction. Constriction.
What can we put there instead?
Permission. Permission for flow.
Okay. If it had a color, what color would it be?
Pink.
Okay, let's put pink in those areas. Both hands now filling that space. Anywhere else on the body?
The pelvis, the area that contains the large intestine, bladder, uterus, those organs.
What energy is trapped there?
Guilt. Guilt. Lots of guilt.
What can we put in that place instead of guilt?
Understanding. Forgiveness.
What color would that be?
Blue.
Let's put blue in that area. Cleansing away what no longer serves her. Releasing that guilt. Filling it with understanding and forgiveness. What else do we see in the body?
We see brain.
What's in that area?
A lot of integration errors between this human brain and non-human information creates like programs stuck, frozen.
What can we put in that area? Better suits her.
Opening, we're always opening more pathways. Opening more pathways.
Is there a color we should put there?
White.
Okay. Let's bring in the white light, filling that space. Anywhere else in the body?
This is sufficient.
Okay, where's that at?
This, as the body is now, is sufficient. It is good.
Okay. Can we do a body scan on Aurora?
Absolutely.
Do you see any entity attachments?
The eyes do not have what we would call an entity attachment. However, it is through the eyes that we hold on to data that we don't need to anymore. So whether you call that an entity or not, there is data that we can remove from this area of the body.
Okay, could you please remove it today?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anywhere else in the body?
Back of the thighs. Red, hot pain. It like travels. Not an entity attachment, but more forgotten memories. We cannot remove it. We're making you aware of it. Should you choose to remember them.
Are they from our childhood?
Some from this childhood, yes.
Okay, I'm open to remembering them if it helps me heal.
It will help you heal, but it will not feel like it at first. Should you be willing to walk through that, the memories will come up when you do not expect them to. We cannot let you know when they're coming because the human will try to stop it, and that's okay.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Around the area of the trachea, just want you to be aware of this area. No attachments, and not bad, but false. I want to say false confidence, false, and it can be real. It's real, it's there. It's okay to project it if it doesn't feel real. It's okay to project it if it feels like false confidence. That's okay. If it doesn't feel like your information, that's okay too. It's still right and it's still valid, and you're still allowed to speak it, and it's still allowed to be truth.
Okay. Anywhere else in the body, do you see anything?
There's much in the abdomen that in time we believe your being would be willing to release, that you're already working on and you're already aware of.
Okay.
And it is good.
All right, good.
It is good.
Can we know when her twin flame soulmate's going to come into her life?
This one has many, many connections. And always looking for a level of, it is pure love, level of love that just doesn't come around too often in the human.
Mm-hmm.
What this one has found is little pieces of it in many people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's well and good. She's learning all the pieces of it. One person is certainly acceptable for this person. However, he is doing the same thing. This current trajectory puts us at meeting within 2021 to 2026. However, this connection may not be made in person initially, and may happen a lot sooner, if that is the case. 21 to 26 is in person.
Okay, thank you. Any other information for Aurora?
There is a lot that's waiting to be uncovered, and timing is extremely important. Extremely. Everything has always happened in your life, in the cosmos in general, in the right time. And when the timing doesn't seem to make sense, it's only so that when it does happen, it's right and that it's true and that it's not a trauma. We are not in a cycle of adding to trauma. We are in a cycle of releasing trauma.
Okay, thank you very much.